All right. Well, all right. So speaking of hot, we are now hot.
Awesome.
All right. So everything's good on your end?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cans are good. Mic's good. My mic's good.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, let's do this thing. Hello, everyone. Welcome again to the podcast that's only about bicycles, nothing else. We go by the moniker of ShiftLess, capital L. Joining me today, the one, the only, Chef Bradford Green.
What it is.
And hey, man, it's raining.
Man, I'm not mad at all.
Not in the least.
We need rain. We need these cooler temperatures. All the trail needs rain. We rode Clear Creek this weekend, which I haven't been up there in forever. And as smooth as it was, there was just cracks everywhere. And it just solidified the fact that we need some freaking rain. But we're getting it. We've had about 1.5 inches at my house in the past, call it 48 hours.
Yeah,
so
sounds about right for us too, somewhere in that range.
It's been the rain we needed. This slow soaking,
just a nice slow soaker.
Yeah,
but I mean, even as slow as it's soaking, there's lots of standing water out and about because everything was just so baked in and hard, and it's going to take a little while to percolate through all that. So I don't know if we're riding today, man.
I don't know that we are either. I was a little disappointed that I didn't get to ride last night. North Shore was closed, but at the same rate, like I said, I can't be mad because we need the rain.
I'm exactly the same way.
Yeah. Speaking of riding, though, I do want to talk to you. Did I read that right? That 100-mile route is set for tomorrow?
That's when I'm planning to attempt it, yes.
Okay. All right. I'm tentatively in, but I need more details like what time and that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, we can work that out if you're tentatively in and if it works. So here's what I'm probably needing to do. Mm-hmm. So here's the issue with this. I'm planning to do this traditional
100 miles.
As much of it as I can pull off.
Okay.
I may be able to do the full 100. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
I mean, I haven't done 100 in forever either.
So I'm the way I have it configured is I'm starting from the Carrollton train station, and that way, basically, anytime from when I get to Denton on, if I have to bail, I can
take
hop the train and go back.
That seems fair.
Is that too much rigmarole for you?
I'm easy, buddy.
Okay, I'm just, I mean, I knew the route went like just a hop, skip, and a jump away from your house, so you were probably thinking about just rolling from the house.
Well, I don't think that would work for anybody, though, because you would be halfway done with the route by the time you got to my house and all that,
Well, I mean, technically it's a loop, so if you were just doing the 100-miler, you could change the start point of the loop and the end point and start and end there. But for my purposes, not being confident that I can do 100 miles, that wouldn't work on my end.
Yeah, let's be fair. I'm not confident either. I mean, I think I can do it, but I also want to get down the Willets if it's just going to be path and light gravel.
Yeah.
There's no sense in pushing all the meat that the Fargo carries with the 2.6.
I was thinking about starting from the train station at 8:30.
Okay.
But that could be pushed to 9, and I think we would still be okay.
Yeah. And just casual pace.
Extreme. My goal is to just ride my heart rate the whole time and see how far that takes me, quite frankly.
Okay.
So it's probably going to be for you. It's going to be a very casual pace, would be my guess.
That's fine.
And if you get bored with that and have to go do your own thing, you're not going to hurt my feelings by leaving me in the dust.
No, I think we'll be fine. Well, we can talk about it more later.
Sounds good. Okay, but the basic framework works for you, huh?
Yeah, I'm tentatively in.
Okay.
I even told the wife, I said, I think Kevin and I are going to ride 100 miles tomorrow, but I'm not sure.
Sweet.
And she goes, okay.
Your wife's awesome.
She's freaking amazing. She just got back last night. I drove her off drove her to Shreveport on Friday and dropped her off. She had to go through all her mother stuff and all that business. And I went and did some liquor store hopping and ate and drove straight back. And then she got back last night. So, and the boys, we all chipped in, and the house was nice and clean when she got home. So she was happy, because normally she comes home and the house is a mess.
It's a wreck, right?
Yeah, all the clothes were washed, all the dishes were washed, everything was done. So
very nice. Very nice.
Man, I know there's so much going on in bikes right now, but there's only one bike that I really want to talk about. And just to be clear, I have no aspirations of purchasing said bike. I would like to touch one. But have you seen I think this just came out 2, maybe 3 days ago, the new Surly Moonlander?
I have seen pictures thereof, but I haven't dug too deeply into it.
I watched
because I'm not attracted to the fat bike.
I understand. But there's so many things to talk about on this bike.
I mean, the pictures at a glance, it looked like a sexy looking bike for some reason, but like I said, I didn't dig into something's different about it.
Yeah, well, they extended the wheel range, the wheelbase tremendous. Well, I say tremendously. I think if I recall correct, the wheelbase is like 4.6 inches longer, which is
that's significant.
Pretty substantial.
What's the logic behind that?
It's what they call a mid-tail bike. So it basically has a longer rear end. It's meant for like long haul stuff. This is kind of like the Esker, that Peter Very was on.
Jay Peter Very.
Yeah, except for this is a fat bike version. The notable things are, this is the biggest flotation tire that's been put on a bike since Hainbrink.
I saw something ridiculous, like 6.2.
Yes. 6.2, which is ludicrous.
So what, you run 3 PSI in that? Is that the way it works?
So I watched a video last night from bikepacking.com, I believe. And the guy, he actually it was funny because I was watching the video and Paula was actually watching it with me. And it showed one place about midway through the video, and he's riding across some rocks, and I go, ooh, his PSI looks way high. And at that point, it was literally like he was listening, and he goes, now here was where I was running, and he goes into all the PSI breakdowns.
Okay.
He said technical sections like rocky and creek beds and stuff like that, he's running down like 4 and 3 PSI. And he said, but hard pack and stuff like that, 7, 8.
7, 8.
Yeah.
And how big a guy was he?
He was riding a medium. He said he was like 5'9", 160.
About under 170 pounds, more than likely. Yeah.
Heavy bike, though. He said even the medium, I believe, was 42 pounds. My God, 20 pounds of it is tire, though. Yeah, they're big. Well, the funny thing is, or the interesting thing I should say, is it's a 24-inch wheel. So when you put a 6.2 on there, you still get basically a 29-inch wheel.
It's still a 29er. Yeah. That's outer circumference.
Yeah, because he said you can switch it. He gave the breakdown of all the different max wheel tire capabilities, and it maxed out at 29 by 3. So you could
3-inch tire with a true 29.
Mm-hmm. You could still run on this bike. The cool thing to me too is this has been on my radar so hard. It has a Pinion.
Oh,
yeah. So that's the other reason. That's why I'm saying there's so much to talk about here. And it's Surly.
Okay, now my interest is piqued. but the Pinion gearbox.
But wait, it gets more interesting.
Okay.
Because even though this is only fitted with a Pinion gearbox, you can buy a frame set. You can buy a stripped down frame set even that has no Pinion gearbox, but it's still built around the Pinion gearbox. The full build comes with a 9-speed. And it's my understanding that Pinion makes up to like an 18 speed.
Well, I mean, there's definitely a part of your 42 pounds there as well. So
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But here
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, but in classic Surly form, they did something that makes you scratch your brain. There's a derailleur hanger on there.
Okay. Well, like, for the frame set, for people that want to build their own thing.
But it's only built around a Pinion. You can't run a traditional bottom bracket in a Pinion frame setup.
I bet they're going to have some. If they're selling the frame set only, I bet they're going to have some sort of insert that bolts into that.
Well, there are
box.
There's already rumors of that, but at the same rate, one of the discussions, and the guy on backpacking.com, I think it was I want to say it was. I wish I could give him better credit, but the speculation is, how cool would it be? Because you have a 550% range here, but the steps are, since it's only 9-speed, the steps are pretty
big,
drastic,
big jumps.
Yeah. So what he was saying is,
which is counterproductive on a 6-inch tire.
So he has it's a geared. Okay, wait. I'm gonna slow down real quick. Just like the first Pugsley's, I believe, this has the same. I want to say it's 192 width, front end and rear end. And when you buy the complete, the front is a geared hub as well. So it's got a free hub body on it and everything. So theoretically, you could run 2 different cogs and switch them in the middle of a trip.
Okay.
Or if you had a failure with your free hub body, you can switch them over. But
and that's how the complete comes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And a complete, I think he said it's $4,200, which is not crazy, especially considering all the technology.
That's in my tolerance zone for something like that.
I mean, it's a fun freaking bike.
Episode 70 something brought to you by Surly Moonlander.
But the thought is, you could run a derailleur here.
You would be happy on a large, right? So if we had a shiftless large, we could timeshare it.
That would be such a fun bike. But I mean, I don't know what you would. I mean,
Caleb could ride a large too.
Yeah, it looks so good with bags on it. But you're not going anywhere fast. But you're going to have the biggest, stupidest smile on your face you could possibly have. But the premise, though,
I'm sorry. Here, shiny
running a derailleur
gives you more
conjunction
incremental
with the Pinion, and you could run. I mean, even if you just ran a 7-speed cluster.
Yeah, basically your unlimited gear range at that point with the in between.
It would probably get stupid.
It's a magic gear at that point.
Yeah. So, I just thought this bike was. I mean, interchangeable front and rear wheels, Pinion, 6.2. Still has a derailleur hanger.
So 4,200 includes
everything seen.
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit!
Now, the only badly spec'd thing I saw was it does have Tektro single pot brakes. They're just single piston, which seems like a 42-pound bike. And if you're going to fully load it and you've got that much rolling momentum, seems like you'd want. But it does have 180s.
It's got the 180s
front and rear. So
yeah, I mean,
it's a
single pistons might surprise you.
Yeah, I love how you were like, man, this didn't even tick any boxes for me, and then we get into it, and you're like, I can do that. It's a cool bike.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I've been extremely Pinion curious for a couple years now.
Same.
And
such a cool
a complete bike that I'm not having to jump through hoops. That in and of itself, actually, logically speaking, in my brain anyway, a Pinion makes even more sense in that environment.
Especially when you're in sand
that platform.
And all that shit.
Yeah. All the shit. Well, okay. And that's part of why I'm going acoustic tomorrow.
Yeah.
Traditional. We did our night rides this weekend. Rode every night. Fantastic time.
Yeah.
But Sunday night, we got sprinkled on a little bit, but not rained on too badly. But the route itself got a shitload of rain.
Yeah.
So the tributary had a mud run, and so that thing's going to be at the duck for a few days to get sorted.
Did it affect the electronics?
No, not the electronics.
Okay.
It's just traditional drive chain, just gunked up.
That's fair. I just, man, this thing popped up and I've been intrigued with it.
So they are now available, or it's announced?
Oh no, I think they're available. In fact, I saw I was flipping through Facebook and I saw Shannon's shop down in
Race Ready Repair?
Conroe area. Had one highlighted and said, come in and put your hands on it. So it seems like they have one either in stock or I think they have one in stock. So
I'm going to have to figure out a way to pull this off.
It's pretty freaking cool, though.
Might be time to start the Patreons for the ShiftLess.
Oh, here it is. 197 millimeter through axles, front and rear.
Okay. I will go back to, I still can't justify the fat bikeness itself. Yeah. I would be very tempted to swap over to 3-inch tires on a 29er wheel, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but the thing is, from my understanding and just me thinking about it, it's such a long bike that if you had a faster tire on it, it would feel like clumsy. It's kind of like driving a limo.
I understand that. I do get that concept.
But you can put so many bags on it. You
could.
Except for, it does have a low step over height with the slope top tube. So you're limited here. But you've got all this area here and you have area here, which is interesting. Much like the Esker, we've seen Peter Very's Esker had a bag here.
Right. You know what you could also do there? So if you had a mid-drive that bolted to the pinion, and then you had a strap-on battery right there.
You're such an e-cuck.
I'm just looking at, again, I'm hung up on them fat tires.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're gigantic.
If I was in Snowville, I would be all over a fat bike.
I'm trying to remember my fat bike. I had Surly Nates on it, and I want to say they were 4.8. Is that right? Sounds awfully wide. But they were big-ass tires. But, man, the thing is, you don't even need a trail. You can just monster truck through everything. But
slowly.
Yeah. But there's also just sure-footedness where you're just, like, when we went at one point, not to the 380 Greenbelt, but just across 380 on the south side. Yeah. And there's a trail down there, that had been pretty much abandoned. And we were trying to relocate it with Staunton and I. And we're just in the middle of the woods. There's nothing. And you just keep riding. This thing does come set up with tubes, and it comes with TPU tubes in it.
That's interesting as well.
But
I'm actually surprised they make a TPU tube.
Same. And he made a comment that I didn't quite understand. I was going to rewind it and watch it again because he said that per Surly's recommendations, or they said that the TPU tube only gets so big and it doesn't reinforce the sidewalls or something like that.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
But it's tubeless ready, so he said.
Well, then we're in the realm of, and forgive me because I'm not a sealant compound expert by any stretch of the imagination, but when you're getting down to 3 or 4 or 5 psi. There's not a lot of force there to push that sealant through a hole or a puncture.
That's a valid point. I don't know. I never had any issues with my fat bike, but I don't think I was running pressures that low.
Right.
I was probably down in the 7-8, maybe closer.
I would think even then it's borderline, but I mean, just maybe the damn tires are so thick it's almost a non-issue.
Yeah, they're beefy ass tires. They're called Molindas.
That sounds familiar. That's related to something else that's out there.
And guess what the name of the rims are? They always have clever names.
Tell me.
Clown Royal.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I like that.
It's pretty good. I'm a Surly fan. I just think they make fun bikes. They make approachable priced bikes. And this is the first new fat bike that they've introduced in, I don't even know how long. The Pugsley's dead. The ice cream truck, I don't even know if they still make that. I think Wednesday is what they make now. And I don't even know if they make the Muckluck anymore. But it's cool to see them, bringing something else new to the table and incorporating the Pinion, which, just like you, it's been on my radar for so long.
I'm going to hold off. They have got to be coming out with a Pinion-based Karate Monkey or something similar.
I don't know.
If they've gone Pinion here, they got to roll out something else Pinion-based, I would think.
I don't disagree, but I don't know where it would be in their other bike line, because to me, the Pinion it's either like, it's something that's not a weight penalty, first of all. A bike that's not going to suffer from a weight penalty. Like a Karate Monkey is intended to be kind of a cross-country bike packing platform.
Again, when I said Karate Monkey, it was more along the lines of a cross-country-ish bike packing rig, a bike packing specific rig, I guess, is what I'm looking at. More of a 29er platform than a fat bike platform, I guess. That I meant Karate Monkey-ish, not Karate Monkey per se.
I'm trying to think. So they still have the ice cream truck, and then they have the Wednesday, which is I think you would call that a plus size bike. They call it a fat tire trail bike. But I think those are the only two that I could see Surly putting an opinion on. I could totally be wrong.
A drop bar Karate Monkey oriented towards bike packing with opinion.
Well, I mean, obviously it makes sense for them to put one in one of their hauling bikes too, like the Big Easy.
Definitely. I'm trying to throw my wish list out there because I'm back to, I could never quite justify the fat bike the first time around. It was like I always wanted a timeshare on a fat bike where that 2 or 3 times a year I really want to ride a bike. I know I have access to it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I could never justify having one in my garage. I would, even with the Pinion, I would still personally be in that same boat. Not that there's anything wrong with anyone that wants to roll fat. We're not going to hold that against you.
So our favorite carnival barker, Mr. Ben Thornton, is the one that talked me into getting a fat bike, and it just so happened it was snowing the day I bought it, so it made a lot of sense. But we ultimately bought them because we were, and I can't remember what year it was, but we were in the middle of that drought, like tremendous drought. So we had so much shoreline to ride. And that's what we went out and did, was just ride shoreline.
Well, if I was in Florida, I would have I would have a fat bike.
Yeah, and that's what this guy said. He said, he goes, this thing is going to absolutely murder sand and snow.
Yeah. So
if you're on loose pack sand, this thing is, I mean, like I said, it's the biggest flotation tire.
If I spent more time in Terlingua, I could probably justify it as well, quite frankly.
I don't know. Terlingua, maybe I caught it when it was really nice, but it didn't seem...
There's plenty of sand roads down there, too, that you guys weren't routed on.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is you're not going anywhere fast on this thing.
Exactly.
But, like I said, you're going to have one tremendous smile on your face, because it's just big dumb fun. What else is going on in bikes?
I want to bring up something.
Let's do it.
I want to say, yes, Bradford, you were right last week.
I love being right. Tell me why I was right.
So when we were talking the Oklahoma City Olympics, I didn't think you were wrong. I don't want to imply that, but I needed more why.
You clearly said it on the podcast.
No, I said that doesn't sound right. And I wasn't saying that you were wrong, because I mean, you brought the receipts there. You brought up a story about it. I said this doesn't make sense. I needed the why.
Which part?
That they were doing any of it in Oklahoma City.
Okay, yeah.
We're back to the Los Angeles Olympics. I would think almost everyone involved would want to be in Los Angeles for the Olympics. That's the short story of it.
Sure.
So what I dug into it a little bit, and the nuts and the bolts of it are the way Los Angeles Olympics are set up. They are not building any facilities for the Olympic sports whatsoever, like everyone else has done forever.
Yeah.
They spend a couple $1 billion on new facilities that only get used once, and then they fall apart.
Right.
So Los Angeles said, yeah, we'll do it, but we're not building any facilities. We can cover 98% of the events with what's here already. So that was the
Seems
specific.
sensible.
It does seem sensible.
Yeah.
I'm still going back to my preference would be that we're all in the Southern California area. Myself, I'm sure the athletes would prefer that, but I'm sure they would prefer being in the Olympics and having somewhere to do their sport as opposed to not being in the Olympics.
Yeah.
So
like, sorry, we don't have the facilities to do that, so we're not going to have softball this year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I got thinking about it. So with that logic as well, that also explains, so they can't use Anaheim Stadium or whatever else because all of those other facilities are being used for all the other sports.
Yeah.
Since they're not building anything.
Yeah.
And so they're having to use all the existing structures that are Olympic capable for probably higher profile sports than softball at the moment.
It seems like they could leverage the Olympics to say, we're going to host the Olympics here. You can find somewhere else to host this event. Whatever's a confliction.
I think it's all Olympic events that are using all those facilities is my point.
They're going to be using softball fields?
Stadiums, sure.
Yeah, but there's, like I said, in the Huntington area, well, that's not right by Los Angeles, so it's like an hour and a half away, I think.
Well, so the Oklahoma City softball facility is evidently truly world class.
Yeah.
So that makes a difference there.
Well, and you saw the kayak and canoeing area. Pretty darn cool.
As much as I would, I don't have a frame of reference, so I don't know what is cool and what is world class in that.
So essentially, it's a
because I know there's like a place in Charlotte, and there's all the places in Colorado and so forth. So how is Oklahoma City superior to the? I don't know.
So Oklahoma City, in a nutshell, and I may muck this up a little bit, but in a nutshell, it's built parallel to whatever river that is, and it's two separate courses that are contained, and they can adjust the flow on them.
Okay.
So they can turn the flow off completely, go in and move everything around, rocks and features all that stuff.
I understand that.
And then they can turn the flow back on, and it's a course that's not going to change unless somebody changes it, versus something that's completely natural that the flow may be up or down.
I think, for example, Charlotte has the exact same type setup.
But that's East Coast, West Coast. This is in the middle of the country.
And I guess, and I also got confused by what was slalom canoe or canoe slalom or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. But
and
I'm
when
sure
I looked
there's
that
gonna be
up,
kayak
it's
too.
kayak.
I don't know. They specifically said canoe.
I understand that, and I looked up canoe slalom, and all it showed was pictures of kayaks.
Which I didn't think canoe slalom was a thing either, but they also have canoe dancing or some shit. Have you seen this?
No.
Oh, it's like a real thing.
I don't doubt it.
But the one that Shannon sent to me, that I've seen quite a few clips of, that I didn't realize was such a big thing, and I don't know what it's called, but there are large competitions where people are on wooden ponies, the ones with the horse head
and the broomstick.
And the broomstick.
Yeah.
And they do actual competitions where they're jumping over jumps and obstacles and stuff, and these people are so serious. I don't know how you even get into a sport like that and then at the same time take yourself super serious. But there's something for everybody.
There's something for everyone. There was the Prancer size lady back in the day, and now there's the Mrs. Roper pub crawl.
I have no clue what that means.
you remember the Ropers from the Threes Company show?
Sure.
And Mrs. Roper and her moo and her big orange afro. So there's this thing now that are Mrs. Roper pub crawls where women dress up like Mrs. Roper and go off on. And
how obscure.
And they pay money for this.
Really? God, that's so just niche.
Understood.
I mean,
but I think it started this. I was having this discussion with my wife last night. It's like I think it's exactly how the Duck started with the Jeep. Exact same thing. Somebody did something, and Jeep Ducks are stupid.
Yeah, agreed. I saw a montage the other day of this person just walking up to their Jeep, and there'd be a duck there, and they go, nope, and just swat it off. And it was just back-to-back clips of them getting ducked and then just going, nope. And I thought it was hysterical. But back to the Mrs. Roper pub crawl. It seems to me that the people that fall into the demographic that are interested in a pub crawl, there's if we had a Venn diagram of people that participate in pub crawls and people that know who Mrs. Roper is, the crossover is going to be really small. That's my initial thought. My other thought is, do you have to start at the Regal Beagle?
There you go. Nice. Nice. Only 2 people listening to this will even understand what that meant.
That's okay. That's okay. It was for them. Now, I grew up watching Three's Company. Like, it was one of my favorite shows. And mostly it was funny and
in a 70s sort of way.
Yeah. But also because Chrissy, I had a crush on Chrissy.
Well, who didn't?
Yeah.
Until
they changed her. You know, it went from, it was Suzanne Summers.
It was Suzanne Summers.
And then they changed it to whoever.
Well, because Suzanne Summers held out for more money and didn't get it, sort of thing.
She deserved it because I quit watching as much when she went away.
Understood. Understood.
It is still raining.
Which is a good thing.
It is a good thing. Sorry.
No, nothing to be sorry about. So I think it's safe to say we're not riding bikes today.
I think we're not. Should I bust out the whiskey?
No, because I'll go home and do the indoor bike. But we are riding bikes tomorrow.
Okay. I need to get my Willets down and go through it. I also need to go to the shop today, but I've got to rewrap my bars on my Fargo as well. But I may set up that.
I'm going to guess, because I don't have the cans on, that you're a little over the top of the mic at the moment.
Sounds perfect in my headphones.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been listening.
You're the producer today. We'll let you run with it.
What do you keep looking at? You worried?
I keep hearing noises.
You nervous?
No.
I think it's just the sound bouncing from this road over here. Or what noises are you hearing?
That sounded like a squeaking animal of some sort.
Yeah, you should put your headphones on. You won't hear it. God, I had like 12 things I wanted to talk about, but the Moonlander was definitely the top of the list.
So you didn't write any of this down anywhere?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I haven't ridden since Sunday, and I feel like a complete piece of crap. It's so weird.
Okay, so along those, are you tracking how much riding you're doing each week?
Yeah, I mean, I've got it on Strava.
So are you cognizant? Hours-wise, how much riding have you been doing each week, roughly?
So August, I think I averaged a little over 10 hours a week.
Okay.
I'm trying to stay at least 8 hours a week. But I only had, I think, 3.5, maybe 4 hours on Sunday. And here we are on Wednesday, and I have no more hours than
Yeah, but if we knock out 8 or 9 hours tomorrow.
Oh yeah. That's why I don't feel bad about it right now, because it may be perfect, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
especially if I just go home and open up the legs a little bit today and just chill. So
yeah, I ended up with 10 hours last week, and I was off the bike the first half of the week and didn't start riding till Thursday, but rode Thursday through Sunday and still ended up with over 10 hours myself. So And that was actually part of what kind of gave me the confidence to think about trying
Right.
the ride. It's like, I rode 3 to 4 hours a day, 4 days in a row. And Monday hopped on the traditional bike and put in a fairly good effort there. It was a shorter ride, but I was pushing it a little bit and it felt good. So I was like, all right, let's see where it stops working. Is kind of the idea.
I guess I lied to you. The first week of August, I had 12 and a half hours. The second week, I had 7 hours. The third week, I had 8.5, almost 9 hours. And then the last 2 weeks, I just had 6.5 hours. So
Okay.
I wasn't 10-hour average, I don't guess.
All right. I mean, basically, when you're over that, when you're in that 7 to 10 range, that's a pretty good sweet spot there.
Yeah.
10 to 12 is kind of a next level thing,
Yeah.
and then over 12 hours,
Yeah.
you have to do that week in, week out, or you're overdoing it if you do it sporadically, sort of thing.
But with this weather, I'm planning on starting to stack some miles, especially
Yes.
I don't have a dinner this weekend, so my plan is to ride this weekend, obviously. But if we ride 100 tomorrow, I won't ride. I might do 10 miles on Friday, but then I'll ride Sunday like I always do, and then I have Forestburg the following 2 weekends before my dinner at the end of the month on the 28th. So
you have 2 weekends of Forestburg,
yeah.
and you're busy. You're busy the whole weekend, right?
Dude, it's so tough. I've taken a bike out there 3 or 4 times, only to unload it and load it back up.
Right. Never.
No, because
Your taint never sees it.
Yeah, I'm cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and even though it seems like, oh, we've got 6 hours before dinner, I still have to clean up from lunch because I'm literally the only person there, and it's only typically 8 to 10 people, but I do everything from scratch.
Sure.
It's one of the reasons they keep having me back, but I'm baking bread and I'm, doing everything. So I don't have time. The thing that I have done up there is I've taken a fishing rod a couple of times, and I have, because there's a pond on site and nobody fishes it. It's like cheating almost. But I can slip away and fish for 30, 45 minutes. No big deal. So.
What do you catch in there?
Bass.
Okay.
Saw a whole pack of dogs wandering the street over there.
Interesting. Not with a person?
Oh, there is a person. Okay. All right. My bad. What else is going on in the cycling world? Have you been watching any of the Vuelta?
None.
I haven't watched any of it either. What else? What's the next Lifetime Grand Prix?
It would be the Rad in Trinidad, I believe. I don't know the exact date, but sometime fairly soon.
Yeah, let me see.
So I guess gravel, the USA Cycling Gravel Nationals is this weekend.
Oh, is that right? My computer's running super slow. Hotspot is not ideal for powering the computer. Speaking of bike budgets, my computer has gotten to the point where my resident computer expert, Caleb, told me that it's not sustainable and I'm going to have to get a new computer.
Okay.
This one's 10 years old.
10 years old. Yeah, it's past its prime.
Yeah, and it's so eat up that I continue to have to delete stuff, and my mail won't even open most of the time.
The new M4 chips are coming out this year. Realistically,
I don't even know what that means, but it sounds cool.
It's the new Mac chips that are supposed to be super sweet.
When you say M4, I think of the old, like when I lived in California building bikes, S-Works.
Oh, Wow, that's really going far back.
Yeah.
So
That was scandium.
yeah, I have a 21 MacBook, so I'm not even.
It seems so interesting that
3
you're
years
a
old.
MacBook guy and you carry
For video
an Android phone.
for video editing.
But you realize how much more seamless that whole thing would be if you had an iPhone?
Wouldn't affect my life very much.
Yeah, because you can just airdrop stuff from your phone to your computer.
I don't do anything on the phone.
Huh.
I talk, I text, and I look at.
You barely text.
Well, exactly. I'm an old man that does everything on the computer.
That's fair.
And so, but most of my computer stuff I do on a Windows machine. But when I'm video editing and when I'm riding the Smart Bike, that's on the Mac.
Okay. So this is the next event on Grand Prix is. I'm gonna say this way wrong.
Oh,
The Chequamegon.
Sheboygan or whatever it is. Yeah.
Chequamegon.
When they say it, I know what they're talking about, and I can never remember how to say it. It's a mountain bike sprint race, basically.
It's in Wisconsin. Yeah, it's definitely a sprint race. It's only 40 miles. So that's pretty interesting.
And what's the date on that?
September 14th.
Okay.
So 10 days from today. And then the rad is September 28th. So the last Saturday of September.
Okay.
And that is 110 mile gravel. And then the last one is Big Sugar, October 19th, which is the same weekend as BT Epic. Big Sugar. Okay. Chequamegon. Chequamegon.
That's not it. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
Somebody will tell us.
Oh, yeah. I butchered it. It's okay.
Yeah.
This rain's making me lazy. So can I talk about something that's not bikes?
Please do.
I went and got a new refrigerator last Wednesday. It's not even a refrigerator. It's a reach-in. And it is boner-inducing for me.
So you are. It was as good as
advertised.
As good as expected, if not better.
Oh.
And this was your scratch and dent special?
Yeah. So the only drawback was I had to drive all the way down 380 to get it. I know how much you love 380.
Yeah.
But the other thing was I borrowed a trailer from my buddy. He has 3 trailers, the biggest of which being a gooseneck dump trailer. And then he has another trailer that's like a pole trailer. So it's got a wooden base and rails along the side and everything. In retrospect, that's the one I should have taken.
Yeah.
Then he has just a piece of shit trailer that is the floor of its expanded steel, and it's got a fold down ramp. It's like for hauling a lawnmower and stuff.
Right.
And he goes, you should probably take this one. And I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't pay attention to how flimsy the floor is because it's just expanded steel. And it's probably the cheapest expanded steel you could purchase. So we get there. I check out the refrigerator. This refrigerator legit is brand new. It just has a small dent on the top and a couple of scrapes on the side. Apparently it was in a place and it never got used and it barely got plugged in. I inspected the whole thing, looked underneath, and the compressor is still brand new, and the defrost tray that sits underneath it had never been even dirtied. So I was like, okay, done. I mean, the defrost tray, which you are supposed to take out every once in a while, empty if it doesn't evaporate, was still taped in from the manufacturer. So I was like, done. The inside's immaculate. So they roll it up on the trailer, and it's just because the floor is just giving. So they put some boards underneath it, like solid pallets, and then we put a pallet on top and strapped it down. Love having my wife with me. Hate having my wife with me because she was so nervous the whole time. She just keeps looking back, and I go, hey, I don't need you to look back. I need you to stay focused. tell me if there's a pothole coming up, and keep me posted on the speed limit. And the only saving grace, or I would say the best part of it, was when we were coming back, we went through every school zone, which I was more than happy to
20
do.
miles an hour works for me.
I was so happy to be going slow. But we got it back, got it off the trailer. The only hurdle was it's 83 inches tall, and my garage door is 82 inches tall, the opening. So we had to lean it over, pull it in, shut the garage door, stand it up, and then roll it into place. But it is an absolute beast. It's so much room for activities.
Very nice.
So
Very nice.
It's pretty cool. Like, I mean, you can fit. I had when I got back from Shreveport, for instance, I bought a bunch of beer that you can't find around here. A bunch of Parish Brewing and Great Raft Brewing, all Louisiana beers. And so I went to get them out of the ice chest, and I just took a bus tub and put them in there. And I just slid the whole bus tub in the bottom of the refrigerator, and it doesn't even take up the entire one side of the bottom of the refrigerator. And I was like, that's so good. So good.
Oh my! All right, we definitely gonna have to give that thing a workout.
It's a sexy
Now
bitch.
that does somewhat lead back to cycling, kind of, sort of, in a very loose way, because you do keep nutrition in refrigerators, right?
Yeah.
No, it just kind of reminded me.
And hydration.
What's that?
And hydration.
And hydration. Okay. So our last. No, maybe it wasn't the last discussion, or maybe it was. Anyway, a discussion with the unconventional Justin Carey. And, he was extolling the virtues of his homemade carb mix, calorie mix, whatever you want, his nutrition.
Yeah, have you tried it yet?
I did.
I did too.
I did too.
I didn't try it the way he prescribed it, but I did try it.
I think I cut it more than he was suggesting, but
I ended up taking my Tailwind scoop and using it because I started comparing the numbers. And I can't remember exactly the way it broke down, but basically, if I use the same amount of scoops of that I do of Tailwind, kind of neck and neck.
okay.
So that's what
maybe we're starting to go down the same path. Now, the one thing I do want to touch on, he did talk about his YouTube video that he made to help people learn how to make his mix. Did you watch that?
So I started watching it. Love you, Justin.
not well, yeah, we are kind of, but I'm kind of busting your balls a little bit here, Justin. But
the whole paper plate thing and all that.
Whatever you do, don't mix up teaspoons and tablespoons.
And then he immediately says tablespoon when he's holding a teaspoon. I was shouting at the screen. I was going, you literally just said some people get confused, and then you get confused. But he did exactly what we were trying to tell him he should do when he scaled up, and he just commits a scoop to this because it's scaled up. And I'm thinking, if you would just listen and know that you could do all this by weight, you would have saved yourself so much trouble.
Yeah.
But he's trying to do individual bags, which I get.
I get that too.
Yeah.
I get that too.
So I definitely think we could streamline that process for him and eliminate the use of all his paper plates and committing so many scoops and everything, and get his precision a little bit better.
Just do the bulk, and then get a scoop for your one bottle at a time.
Well, even if
I even do that by weight, though. It's real easy just to put the bottle and tear it.
Yeah. But I mean, even he doesn't have to mix up individual bags. That's what I was trying to get to him, but he was not receptive at all. He could mix up an entire batch and then just know how much by weight his bag is, and then just measure into each bag. And he could have a huge bulk to work out
I think that's what I just said, but maybe it didn't come out that way.
Yeah. But he wants to bag it. That's the thing, because he wants to carry individual bags, because he also doses it completely different than you or I do, because
well, and that man.
Did you mix an entire bag in one bottle?
No, I couldn't have. I couldn't have.
Yeah.
And that's Justin was a little bit leaner this time, last couple times than he was earlier this year.
Yeah.
But man, that's a lot of calories per bottle.
It is. It is.
That's a bunch of calories
per bottle. But at the same rate, that's where it gets confusing for me is I don't see how you're tracking calories if you have one bottle that's super dense caloric wise, and then you're drinking water on top of that. To me, and I get it, some people just want a sip of water from, periodically. But if you just dose it out over your bottles, and you know how many bottles you're going to take in per hour, it just seems like you're basically on a drip,
No, I understand that point of view completely.
Yeah.
I do, but I also...
But if it works, it works.
If it works, it works. Yeah. I think the carbs per hour regimen is maybe being overly adopted by athletes that probably should still be counting calories per hour as opposed to carbs per hour. I mean, yes, at the elitist end of the elites, it makes all the sense in the world.
Sure.
It's like, I am using up exactly this much fuel each hour. I'm already at a 6% body fat, things, whatever.
Right.
It's just, I'm a hummingbird. I need to constantly feed calories into my system. Most of us, no offense, Justin, you're not a hummingbird yet. You could get there. But he's the one that keeps bringing up that he's concerned that he's too heavy and things like that. That he wants to be leaner, and I understand the logic that he's shooting for, but I think
he did clarify that and say he just wants to lose. He doesn't want to lose weight. He wants to lose body fat. So he wants to maintain the same weight, but he just wants to change his BMI.
Yeah, he wants to be leaner.
Yeah.
And I understand that. And I guess that's somewhat what I'm getting to is, working in carbs per hour versus calories per hour makes it difficult to do that, because I think a lot of people are losing sight of the calories they're actually bringing in, and when they're looking at it as carbs, because a carb is not directly translated to a calorie.
But if you're working with the same fuel all the time,
if you're working with the same fuel all the time, you can dose it. But then if you're throwing in your moon pie that you pick up along the way, or your spaghetti dinner you have, or you stop at Whataburger driving home from Emporia, and you're not factoring all those pieces in, if you're realistically ingesting 6,000 calories a day in your bottles, you need to be super cognizant of what else you're bringing in.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many different ways. I mean, there's as many ways to fuel as there are people that ride bikes. But when I'm fueled properly, like I said, when I did Midnight Mash, I rode and only fueled with what was in my bottles. Granted, I drank 7 bottles over the course of that night, and it was hot, but I finished, and I wasn't cavitating. I wasn't hungry. I didn't have hunger pains. I wasn't like, oh my God, I need a burger or something like that.
Right.
And so I felt like I was fueled proper. I did have two little protein drinks afterwards, just to kind of help with recovery and stuff, but I felt like I was fueled perfect. And I think if you figure out how that works with you, you don't have any issues. And if, like I said, if that works for Justin, then that's great. But I don't feel like he's getting as steady of a caloric intake as he could if he just dosed it across his bottles. because, I mean, in the long run, everything I've read and understood over the course of my cycling career, I say career, my cycling tenure.
Oh, this is going to be loud.
Oh, it is going to be loud. I forgot we are by the train tracks.
I didn't think about that part.
But your body...
We're in a different location because of the rain.
Yeah. But your body can only process somewhere around 300 calories an hour. And it's body dependent for sure.
Let's hold.
Yeah. Standing by.
Going back to that processing 300 calories per hour. I mean, then that's super loose math.
Yeah.
Too. And
I'm saying that's, from what I understand, that's the
right.
ceiling.
Right. And that's kind of the carbs per hour formula. But then again, going back to what Justin was talking about, wanting to get leaner, reduce body fat and things like that. If that's part of your dynamic of what you're trying, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to lose fat, and you're fueling 300 calories an hour or more, you're going to have a hard time losing weight.
Yeah, but you don't want to ride, especially for 10 hours in a caloric deficit either.
I understand you don't want to.
Yeah.
But if a goal is to lose weight, you have to. That's what I'm talking about. When you are that elite of elite racer, and you are already at that 8% body fat level, all right. If you overload on calories, you're not going to gain 5 pounds, sort of thing. You're gonna I picked up a half a pound. All right, so I'll miss a bottle next time, sort of thing, or on the next training ride, sort of thing. But if you're an unconventional Justin Carey and you ride your ass off every day, literally, it's going to be very, very difficult to fuel at your optimal levels and lose weight. It's very difficult to combine the two. That's all I'm trying to say. Most of us have to choose one over the other, sort of thing. But who am I to say? I'm just a fat ass.
Whatever. You're adorable. Speaking of, I want to lurk on his Strava real quick and see what he's working with this. Let me see. He's got 4,300 miles this year, so he's absolutely doubled my mileage. Let me see.
That actually, so Justin's feeding all sorts of content today.
So his last ride was August 31st. He rode 53. And then the day before that, he rode 61. So he's been stacking miles.
From it's loosely related, but somewhat related, and Justin's workout regimen reminded me of it, since CrossFit is part of his mix.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We recently had the CrossFit Games locally.
Oh.
And unfortunately, they lost one of the competitors during the swim. I mean, the fair assumption is it was a drowning, but it's what caused the drowning.
What else could it be?
Well, I mean,
it wasn't a shark attack.
No, hypothetically, maybe he had a heart attack while he was out there, sort of thing.
Yeah, I hadn't even considered that. Yeah.
Or muscle cramps, or whatever. That's what I'm saying. Is yes.
Ultimately, he drowned.
Ultimately, it's logical that he drowned. But
we don't know what the catalyst was.
Were there other contributing factors to that?
Have you seen the backlash from all this?
I have.
Yeah, I've seen multiple posts of people burning their CrossFit flags and saying we're denouncing our gym as a whatever that sanction of CrossFit is. they're basically saying we don't want to be a part of this anymore. The way they conducted themselves and everything was not becoming of what we stand for as a CrossFit community. And
I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I don't know enough to
I don't either.
to have an opinion
Yeah.
that way. But as an event promoter, there's a lot going on in this situation that for me to unpack and
I mean, ultimately,
ponder.
we don't know what happened.
We don't know what happened, but
nor do we know if it was preventable at all.
Right.
You know?
But nor do any of the people that are speaking out at the moment.
Yeah.
So knowing that this is, if gosh forbid something tragic happens at one of my events, it's something that now I'm cognizant of. Be aware of how much information is available to work with. People are going to take things different ways, whether it's right or wrong. I'm not judging.
People love to jump to conclusions
either direction on that. I will say this. I will say this. I don't think it's the best idea in the world to do something like that in August in Texas, quite frankly.
No. I think putting 200, 300 people in a body of water and telling them to swim as fast as they can is a bad idea, too. Period. I mean, that's not the first time that's happened in Texas. There was a try that happened over off of, like, Luna Road area or something. It was, like, 8, 9, 10 years ago, and there was a guy that drowned there.
Yeah, well, there was one in Fort Worth a few years ago at one of those runs and events, and they unfortunately they didn't even know.
They didn't even know.
They didn't even know.
Yeah,
it was one of those. The families were like, "Where's my
Jesus?
Where's my family member? What do you mean? Oh, he must have walked away." No,
that's I just it's tragic, first of all, and I feel awful for all those people that were affected. But it just doesn't seem like a great idea to have that many people in a body of water at the same time, where there's so much splashing and chaos that you can't, even with all the boats and everything, you can't possibly keep a continuous head count. Like it would make more sense, and I don't know from a organizer standpoint, but you'd send them out in waves, even if it's 20 people at a time, and they're in waves. It seems like it's a lot more manageable.
I'm going to go with the hypothetically, because I don't know. Maybe they did do something like that.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know all the details.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know any of the details.
I do know it was August in Texas. I do know they did the run before the swim, which is completely counter to the way triathlons typically do it.
And normally the swim is first.
The swim is usually first because it's the most life consequential one.
Yeah.
So they want people to be the freshest on the swim.
It's normally swim, bike, run.
Swim, bike, run.
Yeah.
On triathlons.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the CrossFit Games are not a triathlon.
That's fair.
And I'm not saying, but it's and maybe the idea was because it's August in Texas. Well, we're going to run first, get heated up, and they'll jump in the water, and that'll help cool them down. Maybe. I don't know. But typically it's in Wisconsin, has been prior to this. You've got literally people that are coming from all over Wisconsin. People coming from all over the world. And outside of people from Texas and sub-Saharan Africa, most of these athletes aren't going to be up to how much did we talk about heat acclimation this year?
Yeah, I'm excited to see if now that we have cooler temperatures, how it's going to feel. Right?
I felt pretty damn froggy this weekend. Obviously I felt froggy. So we'll find out tomorrow. I may completely crumble after 20 miles.
Same.
It'll be interesting.
But I will be on the Willets. So that's the thing. We could talk about it afterwards. But will I be good to carry 2 bottles?
2 should be fine. I'm probably going to throw a third in that feed bag.
Yeah, I might do that too. Feed bags.
Just as just as a backup on it, just in case we get between convenience stores.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Well, and I'm going to do what I normally do as well and carry tailwind with a scoop, and so I can just put my nutrition in when we fill up.
So when you do your tailwind, and so tailwind's basically maltodextrin and fructose.
Yeah, it's very much in line with what Justin was making.
And how much are you dosing by calories, by carbs? How are you dosing yours?
It's very unscientific. Like, for instance, tomorrow, I think the high is going to be like 80.
Okay.
So I normally gauge on how much I think I'm going to drink in an hour. So, like, if it's, for example, and this is just for even round numbers.
Sure.
This is not actually the way it would go down, but just to make it make sense. If it's 100 degrees and we're going to be slow moving through tough area, and I think I'm going to drink 2 bottles in an hour, then I'm going to put 1 scoop per bottle. And that way I have the full dose of 2 scoops.
How much is a scoop, I guess is what I'm getting at.
It's roughly 100 calories. You know what? Let me pull up Tailwinds, because you're asking poignant questions and I don't have the right answers. But ultimately what I do is try to dose it based on how much I'm going to consume per hour. So like tomorrow, I'll probably try to drink right at a bottle an hour.
Which is 1 scoop.
I'll do 2 scoops.
Okay, 2 scoops in a bottle. Okay, that's what I'm trying to sort out. Okay, so
let me see if
you're trying to combine
hydration and nutrition.
A hydration amount with a caloric amount. Okay, no, I'm just making.
Let me see if I can.
And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm seeing how other people factor it.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong either, because, like I said, everybody deals with, handles it differently.
Understood.
So 1 scoop is 100 calories. It just pulled up.
And what's the
25 carbs per scoop?
And does it say how many grams are in that scoop, or what the measurement?
27 grams.
20. Okay, so it's basically the same as sugar at that point, roughly.
Yeah.
25 grams of sugar is 100 calories.
Yeah, and it's dextrose, cane sugar, citric acid, sodium citrate, sea salt, magnesium oxide.
So there is no maltodextrin in it, or maltodextrin, or whatever it is.
Nope. Dextrose, which is glucose.
Yep.
Cane sugar, citric acid, sodium citrate, sea salt.
Okay, so
potassium
it's
chloride.
Electrolytes and sugar, roughly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
But it's so, especially when I was.
And I'm sorry, you said 1 scoop per bottle usually, but 2 scoops if.
In the winter, I totally run two full scoops, because I found my sweet spot to be around 200 calories per hour.
Okay. And that sounds okay.
Yeah, which is 50 carbs per hour.
Yes.
So
yes,
that's on the lower end of the spectrum compared to what, like you said, the elite of the elites are running.
Right.
They recommend.
But you're not doing 800 watts, 400 watts sustained for 30 minutes and that sort of thing.
No, I'm only like 500 watts per hour or something like that. But they're saying, so they're just rough recommendation with a 20 to 24 ounce bottle is mix 2 to 3 scoops of water per hour for longer efforts, or 1 to 2 scoops per hour for shorter ones. So I don't think I've ever done 3 scoops per bottle, but I have very frequently done 2 scoops.
And Justin's mix was in the realm of that 3 to 4 scoops, wasn't it?
His is 200 carbs and 1,500 sodium. I think, based on his conversation, I think a lot of his focus is on, what did I just say? Sodium. I mean, he was focused on the sodium,
I understand that, but that's a bunch of calories.
It is.
A bunch.
It is. Because if you're 200 carbs, you're roughly 600 calories.
600 to 800 calories.
Yeah. Which that's a lot in an hour. And I don't think he's taking that. I don't think he even intends to take that. And that's where I get confused. Because he's taking sips.
That's where I was getting. Yeah. It wasn't registering with me what. And as much as it makes sense in your head, Justin, I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking it. It's not coming across.
It obviously works for him.
Yes.
Like I said.
Yes.
But to me, I'm going to keep beating this dead horse. To me, it makes more sense to spread it out amongst your bottles, consume your bottles, and then refill and keep moving.
Yeah. Basically, every sip has the same effect sip-wise.
Yeah. It's like being on a drip.
Yeah.
It's like having an IV, just constantly hydrating and getting nutrition. And
obviously, there's a difference between a 1 hour ride and a 10-hour ride. Doing those things. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
I've done that for 8-hour rides before.
No, I understand.
And been fine. Well, the only thing I will say positive for Justin's technique is if you start to feel like, I'm a little behind, you can take a huge sip of that and it's a lot more calorically dense. Versus if I get behind.
And in a way, I think that was kind of what I was inferring from the way Justin was talking about that he alternated sips.
Yeah.
I think I'm feeling that I'm a little bit behind the curve, so.
Yeah, but that's always, in my mind, it's too late at that point. It's kind of like when you feel like you're getting dehydrated. He's
unconventional.
That is an understatement.
I know something I wanted to ask you about.
Talk to me.
Am
I in trouble?
No. Hopefully I'm not, or hopefully I'm not about to be.
Mm-hmm.
So last week when we were chatting about some of the women's elite racers and some of that stuff, you had brought up SBT Gravel as an example. Were you specifically referring to this year's SBT Gravel, or were you talking to one from years ago?
Last year. Last year was when all the hullabaloo occurred with SBT Gravel, if I recall correctly, where the women were very vocal about, there were a couple of the more elite women that had jumped in with, I want to say it was their own teammates, and were way more competitive than they would have been had they been left to their own means.
Okay.
That's the way I recall it.
Here's the reason I ask. And I'm not trying to create waves, but I received some comments after people listened to last week's episode.
Were they trying to cancel me?
No. Well, there was one in the mix, but we won't go there.
Oh, I want to go there.
But it was brought to my attention that this year's SBT Gravel, which
I saw zero coverage of for the record.
There was a little bit of a gravel beef related to the women's winner, which is our dear friend Lauren Stevens. And evidently there was some controversy. That Matt and Lauren rode together in the SBT Gravel, and there was some gravel beef thrown about around that.
Seems legit on the surface.
I don't know any of the details. We're back to there were no rules broken. Regardless, everybody admits that there were no rules broken.
Because there is no rule against it at the current moment.
At that particular, it's event to event to event. So there was no rule against it. But in turn, I'm also under the impression that Lauren did shut down a lot of the conversation the next week at Gravel Worlds by just taking off the front and leaving everybody in her dust. And my expectation is she'll probably attempt to do the same this weekend at
she's on form. Here's my thought is I'm all for people gamifying the system. There's races where you can't run aero bars, there's races where you can run aero bars.
Yep.
And those that are going to be competitive are going to take every advantage that is legally available. There's races where drafting is a no-no. And there's races where drafting is perfectly fine. And those people that are going to put themselves in contention to be on the podium are going to take advantage of, I can draft, I can run aero bars, I can whatever.
Right.
And so if there's no rule against drafting, whether it be male on male or female drafting males, then how are you going to vilify somebody for taking advantage of that? I mean, you can't fault someone for doing everything they can to win. Within the legal parameters.
Within the legal parameters. And
I mean, you can't be mad at Lauren for doing that. If that's the way everything went down, you have to be mad at the organizers for not precluding that activity. Here we go again.
What the world?
You know what comes down this rail most of the time?
Trains.
There was a train that came through earlier. I saw the tracks. Such a dad joke. Red says that all the time. It's mostly coal. Tons of coal.
Going to the electricals. The electricity manufacturers.
Yeah. Got to power all them EV vehicles.
Hell yeah. And them e-bikes.
Yep. Silly trains.
Come on by. On your left. On your right. This is where it gets stupid in my world, and I am still a proponent, for lack of a better word, and believer in the spirit of gravel. But my interpretation of the spirit of gravel seems to be different from what the elite racers' definition of the spirit of gravel. My definition of the spirit of gravel is it's open to everybody, run what you brung, have a good time, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
And that works for 80% of the field.
And the elite racers' interpretation of the spirit of gravel is, well, we don't have it's like the unwritten rules of baseball and tradition, and well, we just don't do it that way.
Right. Because the majority of them come from a road racing atmosphere.
That's where initially a majority came from a ultra endurance mountain bike racing background, and now it's
more road.
Coming from road.
Yeah.
And those are kind of clashing, so it's two different interpretations of what the spirit of racing gravel is.
But we didn't have these conversations before it became. When I'm discussing this, I'm talking about the front 15-20% of the field.
Not even that much, 10 or 12% realistically.
I was trying to be generous, but because there's two different things going on simultaneously. Because once you get past the top 10 of each category, you really settle into a whole different dynamic.
Very definitely.
So people are yo-yoing, some people are drafting, people are falling back, people are leapfrogging, and at the front, it's more of a pack mentality, racing, helping, using each other, and then burning people off and taking off.
So an example of what I consider the spirit of gravel, and it's part of why I'm a Dylan fan, but Dylan's one of those that poo-poos the concept of the spirit of gravel tremendously. But the way Dylan throws his bikes together, that's very spirit of gravel. It's and that's
he's looking for every fair advantage.
Looking for every fair advantage and taking chances to get there as well. So if you screw the pooch in this race because it was stupid to put a 2.2-inch tire on there, well, you learned your lesson. But if you go out and do it and it works well, lo and behold, next race, 40 other people are doing the same damn thing.
Absolutely right.
And that's why it's like, leave aero bars in it as far as I'm concerned. It's your choice. You don't want to run with aero bars? You don't run with aero bars.
I mean, I get the safety concern.
That hasn't been a factor, though.
No, I know, but
it's another contrived versi.
Just like I do, you have to cater to the lowest common denominator.
But that's not what they're catering. You know what they're catering to?
the whiny people.
They want their sprint bunch finishes is what they want. They don't want Colin Strickland going out on his own solo at the halfway point of Unbound and supposedly breaking the spirit of gravel then because we don't go off on a solo then because we're working to that was the feedback he got the year he won.
Yeah.
You know.
But you know what? Some of those victories are some of the most talked about victories.
Again, let's go back to the Kristen one at the Olympics. You know, that was a solo off on her own.
Yeah,
she took that turn and hammered it, and boom,
and there was nobody in sight. But I remember when I still lived in Shreveport, and this is 20 plus years ago. Russ Walker.
This is going to be a Russ Walker conversation, isn't it?
Well, because that was his card. I mean, at Hotter Than Hell, this had to be 96, 97. He, at like mile 3, just took off, left the rest of the field and time trialed the entire thing and won solo. Like 10, 15 minute gap, something ridiculous.
Yep.
And that's just some people, that's how they ride, you know, and I think part of it is it's a gigantic FU. It's like, if you can hang, you can hang. And if not, I'm gone.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and that's Lauren's MO right there.
Yeah.
If she's happy, it's just out there time trialing the hell out of it and just doing her own thing.
Yeah. I'm going to make you work harder to be competitive with me. And that's, if you're that level above the rest of the field, you deserve a solo victory. Fuck the spirit of gravel. If I could take off and leave everybody at the very beginning of a race,
but I guess that's
needing everybody to work with,
the spirit of gravel is on board with that. The people that are saying that's not spirit of gravel, it's like that's completely spirit of gravel. Go out and do your own thing.
I mean, if you're out there breaking your own wind and doing all the pulls, making all the efforts, you're not drafting off of anybody, you're arguably the strongest rider, period.
Yep.
So I mean,
and if you're using aero bars, you know what? The other people can too and do the same thing.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I know Austin Whittington is notorious for doing very similar things too. He'll work with a pack for a little bit, and then if they're not doing the right pace, he just turns on the switch and gets gone.
But that said, the people like their sprint finishes. They like their bunch finishes. It looks really good on YouTube.
It's great for spectators, but
it's really good for sponsors.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So, you know, hey, but all 10 major sponsors showed up in the finishing photo as opposed to one. But
now you're getting into just the money aspect, which is the antithesis of the spirit of gravel.
Exactly.
So I think we just found the problem. I think more people should just ride their freaking bike. Just ride your damn bike, even if it's raining.
Even if it's raining?
No. I don't like starting a ride in the rain. I don't mind going out knowing that it's going to rain.
I don't mind getting rained on.
I don't mind getting rained on. I just find it very hard to start a ride when it's raining.
Yeah.
Even if I know it's going to stop in an hour, I'm more inclined to wait an hour than start it and know that I'm going to get wet and then have to dry off.
All right. So I'm gonna throw this episode up today, this afternoon.
Well, what happened to our episode that got lost in the wind?
It's still lost in the wind. That's a backup.
Okay.
That's a backup. That's a spare tire at the moment.
Okay.
It's a TPU tube.
So I want to get you said our next guest, I won't say that person's name.
On the 18th.
On the 18th.
Is what we have penciled in. So if you want to get your guest in prior to that, I'm on board.
Oh, crap.
But, unfortunately, our whole dealing with the man thing.
We may have to reschedule next week anyways. I have an event on the 11th, which is next Wednesday.
That's next Wednesday?
Yeah. I have a grazing board table in Dallas. that I have to go set up and everything.
So what day of the week would work for you, or do we just pull the TP YouTube out that next week?
Or I could do. I'm trying to think. I could probably do Monday. Yeah, we could talk about it later.
All right. We'll talk about it while we're riding tomorrow.
Yeah.
And since I'm putting this out there today, if anybody wants to join us, what time are we leaving from the Carrollton train station tomorrow?
Let's call it 9
o'clock a.m.
Yeah.
Rolling at 9 a.m. from the main downtown Carrollton DART train station. And send an email to shiftlesslive@gmail.com. I'll get you the route, or spinistry@gmail.com. So that's, if you listen today, you can be on board on it. I'll throw it out there on Facebook too, see if anybody is interested in tagging along. I sent you the route. You saw it, right? Mm-hmm. Unverified. We may run into issues along the way, but I think we can adapt.
You know how much that makes me happy?
I know.
I would much prefer a route be unverified than, all these roads are perfectly clear and smooth
for
rolling.
those that are listening that are thinking that they might tag along, there's a high likelihood of dipshittery on this.
Yeah. I'm more about the spirit of adventure than I am the spirit of gravel.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. So what should we do tomorrow?
We should go ride our bikes.